Hello and welcome to the Fantasy Wildcard Dynasty Show. I'll be your host this week, Matt. You can follow me on Twitter at MattFFDynasty. And with me as always, we've got the band back together. We've got the Dream Three. So I welcome my first co-host, Ali. You can follow on Twitter at FF Dynasty Grill. Ali, how are you doing?
I am doing fantastic, thank you, Matt. It's like you say, it's great to get the three of us back together. Hopefully you finish your partying, although I think you might be partying a bit longer with the Giants' record and the schedule they got coming up. But yes, good times. Personally, not for me. It's not very often that the Bucks lose and the Eagles and the Giants both win. So yeah, I'm here for you boys tonight, and can't wait to get going.
Absolutely. The good times keep on rolling, don't they? And with that, I'll introduce my second co-host. So I'm sure he's feeling in great spirits too. That's Kev. You can follow on Twitter at Dynasty_Go. Kev, how are you doing?
Go birds. Yeah, good evening, Matt. And good evening, Ali. I'm glad I've got you in the right order.
You can't get it wrong when we're both here, Kev, can you?
Exactly. I can say it in any order and get away with it. But yeah, doing really well. Obviously, the Eagles won again. They're going to remain unbeaten this weekend as well because they've not got a game. But yeah, just a little bit worried about the bye weeks coming up in fantasy. This week's a crippler looking at some of my projected lineups this week. But I do think it'll be a real test to see sort of where your team's at and get a gauge for the league as well over the next 6 or 7 weeks when depth's going to be crucial. But that's me going off on a tangent. I'm doing great, thanks, and we've got a cracking show in store today.
Absolutely, we have. I've managed to finally recover from obviously going to London and watching the Giants. I had to take a week off dinner last week, lads, to fully recover because it was it was a long night, should we say? So yeah, great to be back with you both. Obviously, listened to last week's show. You both killed it without me. So without further ado, shall we crack on with this week's show?
Kind words.
Very, very enthusiastic, both of you there. But yeah, on this week's show, we're obviously going to be reviewing week 6 of the NFL season and highlighting some players that stood out to us and then discussing maybe a couple of trades, and we can establish where we think the dynasty value currently sits. So with that, Ali, we'll start with you. Who's the first player we're going to discuss this week?
It is Joe Burrow, quarterback for the Cincinnati Bengals, who slayed the New Orleans Saints, and always love a team giving the Saints a good spanking. And old Joe Burrow, he came back with a vengeance, and it was an impressive win, to be honest. He was the overall quarterback 1 on the week, and he's now quarterback 5 on the season. So he's actually ahead of where he was last season at his QB7 finish. And his points per game as well are up as well. He's now 22.11 points per game, which is impressive, to be honest. He had big struggles in week 1, 2 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. But since then, he's thrown 10 touchdowns just to the 1 interception. So he's really, really getting it together. And the Bengals are on a bit of a roll now. And just that win as well, given how impressive the Saints have been, especially playing at home. They've been playing really tough. But the fact that he managed to tear him open, and especially with T. Higgins, he was pretty hobbled for the match. He's not 100%. So just makes it even more impressive what Burrow's able to do. But we certainly like to see the Burrow-Chase connection that was well and truly back. Chase going for over 100 yards and a big game. And then just looking forward, the next few matchups for the Bengals are absolutely fantastic for Joe Burrow and this offense. They played the Falcons, the Browns, the Panthers, and then they think they got a bye. Then they played the Steelers and the Titans as well. So the schedule's looking really good for Joe Burrow to continue this really good tear, to keep producing, and who knows, he could finish even higher up the rankings than he is right now. And the good thing is, looking at his production, it's not just through the air as well. He's actually using his legs again now. The offensive line has given him a bit more room and helping him out a little bit more, and he's rushing a bit, which gives you an even higher ceiling with Burrow. He's got 2 rushing touchdowns in the last 2 games, so you do love to see that, unless you are owning Joe Mixon and playing Joe Mixon in fantasy. But yeah, the Bengals, they've won 3 of the last 4 games, so they're on a roll. But just looking at the playoff schedule, it is quite tough on paper. They're at the Buccaneers, they're at the Patriots, and then
they play. It's tough. I can't believe that.
Oh, come on, we'll be good by then. The Patriots, and then they play Buffalo in week 16. So it is it's tough for the playoff schedule, but getting up to that point, he's gonna produce big time. So I do think there is a world where you can still trade for Joe Burrow right now, but you're going to have to pay up for him. I think you could have got him in his early struggles, week 1, week 2. You could have maybe traded for him then, but right now, where the offense is starting to roll, I think it's even more difficult. But there is just enough of that window open to make a move.
Yeah, I think he's done really well. The fact that he's QB5 on the season, it's not something we've seen before where he's actually producing at that level. He's been higher in Dynasty rankings based on what could happen as opposed to what has happened. The touchdowns are key to it. Rushing wise, he's not quite getting there with the yards. I think he's got around about 100 on the year. So if he keeps that up, it's going to add a little bit of value, but not a lot of value, I don't think, to sort of give him that ceiling of the other guys at the top. But yeah, we know the weapons are fantastic. We know the coach is questionable, but sometimes that can work in your favour if you're playing from behind. And just look at Kyler Murray, for example. So yeah, I think he's solidified where he is. He's given a bit more confidence that he deserves to be ranked where he is, round about quarterback 5, quarterback 6. Do I see the ceiling? Still no, but he has flashed little bits of rushing this season. He had a 40-yard game week 1, I believe. So if you can do more of that, then yeah, why not consider him up with guys like Justin Herbert, who's not a 800 rushing yard a season guy. You've got to consider him in that range if he does start rushing more. Joe Burrow.
Yeah, it's been great seeing that he's turned it around. Obviously, at the start of the season, everyone was questioning, this is the bubble bursting with Joe Burrow, and obviously the Bengals kind of struggled to start the season, but it's been great to see him turn it around. Like you said, Ali, the fact that he's got those weapons, T. Higgins, even though he's not 100%, the fact that he's still on the field and he's still able to put up some yardages is obviously a plus for Burrow. And as you say, Jamar Chase just doing things. It was great seeing him as well turning up to the stadium. Joe Burrow wearing that Chase jersey, LSU jersey. Yeah, you just knew that it was going to be a big day for both those guys when that happened. So, yeah, as I say, just great to see Joe Burrow finally turn it around. And Ali mentioned about the fact that you could still potentially trade for him, but you might have to pay up. So it falls quite nicely to suggest a couple of trades for you two now. So we're going to kick things off. Just straight up, easy one to start. 2 guys straight up, Joe Burrow or Kyler Murray?
Well, it's quite a difficult answer, but because I put my new rankings out today, and these are both in my tier 2. These are the only 2 quarterbacks I've got in tier 2. I've got 5 quarterbacks tier 1. But I've got Burrow ranked 1 place ahead of Kyler. I'm going to take Burrow at the minute. Kyler Murray, I feel like he's not reaching nowhere near his potential that we've seen. So that could be scary. The fact that Kyler Murray is only, I think, a couple of places behind Burrow right now. The fact that especially when Hopkins comes back, he could really light up that offense, Kyler Murray, going forward. But I'm going to take Joe Burrow just because I think he's a bit more of a steadier quarterback. You know what you're going to get from Joe Burrow. I don't think he's reached his ceiling yet either. Obviously, Kyler Murray, he's better with his legs, his rushing production, so he maybe give you a higher floor each week. But it's extremely close. They're in the same tier, so I could take either, but I'll just shade to Burrow.
Yeah, I'm gonna. Well, first of all, I thought it was a really good question, Matt, because I saw Ali's rankings. I thought Ali's gonna have a tricky one with that because he's got me in the same tier and that. But I'm leaning Kyler Murray on this one just based on ceiling and the fact that I think his situation will improve in the future. Where Joe Burrow's situation is pretty much as good as it gets, other than the O-line giving him more time. I think the situation for Kyler Murray can vastly improve longer term. Obviously, just lost his best weapon, Hollywood Brown. Would he be in his best weapon when New Hopkins is back? That's an answer we'll probably never know. But yeah, I'll bank on Murray's ceiling on this one.
I love it. First trade I've managed to divide you both already. I mean, what a great start. But yeah, like Kev said, it's interesting with Kyler Murray. Like we said, the situation's not great. It would have been great to see both Hollywood Brown and Hopkins together. I feel like that would have been a big boost for Kyler Murray, but now sadly with Hollywood looking like missing a bit of time. We're never going to get to see the potential of having both of those guys, but love that I've managed to divide you both with that first one. So we'll move on to the second one. I guess this is a situation where you may be looking to pivot down from Joe Burrow. So it's Joe Burrow or Derek Carr and a 23 first.
Oh, it's so close, this one, because that if you had Joe Burrow right now and somebody offered you that trade, you have to really contemplate it. It's something where it's a serious offer. It's not one you just auto reject. Derek Carr is playing fine right now. I don't think he's found his ceiling either yet in this offense. I think it can get better. And then obviously we love them 23 first. So it's one of them. I think there is a scenario where Derek Carr is replaced at the end of the season. I think it's very unlikely, but there is a situation. But I do think Derek Carr is he's still going to be a quarterback in the NFL. He's that good. So it's one of them where if you thought it was going to be a late first, then I would side with Joe Burrow's side. But if you thought it was going to be an early to a mid first, then I possibly lean the Derek Carr side, because if you're playing in a 2-year window, Derek Carr is going to be absolutely fine for you. And then if you absolutely nail that first round pick, then you're absolutely laughing. So perhaps we'll just lean the Carr side, but that is incredibly close, and I'm interested to see what Kev says.
Yeah, get the Carr for me. I just think if Burrow still was QB1 overall, I'd stick with that side, because there is quite a big gap in Burrow to Carr already. So yeah, I'm taking the Carr side. I think that 23 first, the value is going to increase as the year goes on. That asset's going to rise. So yes, give me the Carr, please, Matt. Thank you. I'm sorry that we agreed on that one.
I'll have to see if I can get you with this final one. So obviously I've just done a pivot down there. So this one, I guess you'd consider a trade up with Joe Burrow. So it's going to be Joe Burrow and a 23 first or Justin Herbert.
Another brilliant trade, and again it's really quite close, because I've got Herbert in the top tier, firmly in the top tier, Burrow in the tier below, but I'm not quite sure there's a 23 first split in the two. So I'm going to lean the Burrow side here. The fact that Justin Herbert, as Kev has alluded to, he's not Josh Allen in terms of his rush and yardage. So I think it's a bit closer between Burrow and Herbert for ceiling. So I'll go the Burrow side.
Yeah, you're a swine on this, because you know that I like Herbert, and I've never really been a massive Burrow fan, but he has won me over last year, Burrow, with his on-field play. And I just think 23 first side for me. It's, like I said, it's going to rise in value. It's not that I'm low on Burrow. It's not that I'm low on Herbert. It's just that I think the gap's close enough to think a random 23 first. Give me that and see what's what.
Fair enough. I very nearly did go Patrick Mahomes, obviously with Justin Herbert struggling a bit. I thought maybe that could have swayed you both. But no, we just love them 23 first, don't we? I mean, it's hard to not be excited. So with that, Kev, we're going to move on to you now, and the second player we're going to talk about.
God, yeah, we go from excitement to this absolute dreary man. What a mess he's been this season. Aaron Rodgers, this week specifically, QB 20, QB 19 on the year. Previously been QB1 every injury-free season since I think the T-Rex was around. But this year, less than 250 yards at each game. That's in excellent group with Baker Mayfield, Danny Dimes, Fields, Rush, Mariota, Davis Mills. So yeah, an elite group he's got there with him. But yeah, I think the Devontae Adams effect it is affecting him. We thought that maybe he could get by, and he's done it all his career, and the weapons don't matter. But yeah, Devontae Adams, decent wide receiver. I think the Packers, they need to make moves fast, whether it be a free agent or a trade. I think there's some great options out there. DJ Moore, Brandon Cooks, even someone like OBJ. They need to be adding somebody to get him back to where he's been before. Thinking a little bit like the AJ Brown effect on the unbeaten Eagles. Had to get that in there. Slightly different, obviously, because Jalen Hurts has took a step with an extra rep, and we know that Rodgers can do it. It's just getting him the right weapons around him again. Keep trade cut QB 20 for Rodgers. With the way he started the season, I think it's kind of fair, but there is a couple of people that he's behind that I shake my head at, like Zach Wilson, Pickett, Matt Jones. Yes, they are young guys, but these have done nothing on planet Earth compared to Aaron Rodgers for fantasy. So it's a tricky one with him. I think if you've got Rodgers on a contending team, you're not going to be 5-1 or 6-0 in all likelihood. He's really letting your side down. What can you do to pivot from him? I guess we'll see if you guys can give us a bit of clarity on that with the trades, etc. But it's a real problem for fantasy managers at the moment, what to do with Aaron Rodgers on a contending team.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I'm just wondering how pissed must Aaron Rodgers be, the fact that obviously he stayed with the Packers and this is how they reward him. I mean, it's been absolutely dreadful watching the Packers. I do actually feel for Aaron Rodgers because we all know he is one of the best quarterbacks in the league, if not right up there with Tom Brady. And the fact that they're just not really protecting him, 15 sacks already this season, which is 5th in the NFL. I think that's nearly half of what he had last year. So clearly not being helped by that O-line. And then, as I say, the fact that losing Devontae Adams, we were hoping they wouldn't be such a big impact, but it clearly has been. I mean, the fact that he's having to round guys like Alan Lazard, a couple of rookies coming in Dubes, is it? Have we decided what his name is? Is it Romeo Dubes or Dobbs? I mean,
Dobbs.
I feel like they keep calling him Dobbs, but I can't buy that, to be honest.
Doobie. I think Rodgers was smoking Doobie only this offseason.
I mean, it must be, or he might need to be fair. He might need to smoke it now to try and chill out a bit because, it's just an absolute mess over there. And I think you're spot on, Kev. They need to do something, give him some kind of weapons and see what they can do. I mean, as I say, I went to watch the Giants against the Packers in London, and you could just see, just watching it with my own eyes, that it's just so tough sledding for Aaron Rodgers at the minute. And if the Giants can put that pressure on you, then just imagine what the actual good teams can do in the NFL. So yeah, in terms of fantasy, I'm really worried. I've got Aaron Rodgers in a couple of leagues, and I'm panicking at the moment because I feel like he should be that rock solid QB1, low in QB1 at worst. Currently, he's as low in QB2 at best. So. Definite panic alarms going off at the minute with Rodgers.
Yeah, and likewise, I've got him in 2 or 3 teams that I thought were contending teams, but he's let me down a bit at the minute. He's not getting even the floor is really low with Rodgers at the minute, and he's not having them boom games at all. It is worrying, and I was at that game, and the New York Giants defense absolutely hounded him and was sacking him. You could tell he was clearly upset. I think he's got the most passes ended up behind the line of scrimmage, so he's just not got a lot of confidence in that O-line, and he's dumping the balls off to the 2 running backs often. It was really weird because that first game in the first half of that London game, he looked brilliant. He was absolutely fine, and then he came out for the second half. And fair play to the Giants, they made adjustments, but he just looked awful. He couldn't find any receiver, so it is worrying times for Rodgers. There's rumors that he could possibly hang it up after the season. Who you just don't know with Aaron Rodgers. I think it's extremely unlikely given the contract he's got. But yeah, we'll see. It's maybe I can offer you some alternatives to Rodgers. We'll see. So the first trade scenario is a straight up. It's Aaron Rodgers or Matthew Stafford.
God, yeah, it's tricky. That it's like, do you want to get punched in the face or kicked in the nuts? I'd go for Aaron Rodgers just because over his career he's been more consistent for the majority of it, but something needs to happen. I'm not confident with that. It's just banking on the talent and the previous hope that he turns it around as opposed to anything with any substance.
I mean, yeah, but great trade to start with, Ali. I mean, giving us two not so great quarterbacks at the moment. So, for me, I think I'm actually going to go Matthew Stafford. I just think looking maybe a little bit more short term, but the fact that he's at least got Cooper Kupp over there. I mean, if you've got Cooper Kupp, you've got a target, haven't you? So, I think Matthew Stafford having that, I feel like that O-line, even though it is struggling at the minute, just last year it was a lot better. So maybe they've got the bye week this week. Maybe they can come in and we can see some improvement. So, I'm going to leave Matthew Stafford, but like Kev said, it's not too happy to have either, to be honest, right now in fantasy.
I think we need to give Rodgers a weapon. I think Brandon Cooks makes a lot of sense. If he came in, then I might choose Rodgers here if he had someone who he could be be stable and throw to, but be I'd lean Stafford. Okay, so Aaron Rodgers or a 24 first-round pick?
Give me Rodgers on this one. I think if it was 23 first, it's interesting, obviously. But yeah, quarterback, Superflex leagues, someone that's been a QB1 most of his life. Yeah, I'll take Rodgers on that one.
Yeah, I think if you were going to take that 24 first, you're committing to a long rebuild, aren't you? I mean, if it was a 23 first, then getting that quicker return on investment in trading away Rodgers. But the fact you've got to wait an extra year, you're definitely committing to a rebuild. So I think I'd rather have Aaron Rodgers and hope for better times and feel that value can improve on that 24 first.
Yeah, agreed. I'd be taking a 23 first, but I wouldn't take a 24 first right now. And the third trade scenario, this is Aaron Rodgers and a 23 first or Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, this is tricky. This was the toughest one you've said for Rodgers so far. I'm going to take the pick side just because I think, it's a 23 first, obviously. But I just think if you're taking Watson now, you're kind of punting the next 6 weeks or so till he's back. So it's kind of, yeah, that's my thought process. I'd rather just take Rodgers and get the first and just see what I can do later on in the season. If that trades in 6 weeks' time, maybe I take the Watson side.
Yeah, I definitely think it's an interesting trade scenario because as well we're talking about Deshaun Watson, but I mean this is a guy that hasn't played football in 2 years. He's going to come back. We're assuming he's going to go back to that elite level, but you are kind of taking a bit of a punt on Deshaun Watson in a minute, and how long does it take him to fully adjust? So, like Kev said, you're probably looking at not having a real quarterback, maybe even this year if it takes him a bit of time to readjust to playing competitive football again. So, yeah, I think with that, rather than just saying I love 23 first, because that's what we seem to always do on this show, I've tried to give a little bit of a different slant on it, but yeah, I think Aaron Rodgers that 23 first. You've still got a quarterback, and as I say, if Aaron Rodgers can turn it around, being a quarterback, knowing the quality quarterback that he can be for fantasy, you've got to feel that value is going to increase. And yeah, I'd rather take a punt on that, having a starting quarterback and getting that 23 first. That could be yet another quarterback, depending on where that first lands.
Yep, I think also you can probably, I think if you want to trade for Watson, I think you have to take a bit of a punt because as we get towards his return date, the value is going to rise. I think you can get Watson a little bit cheaper than that if you traded for him right now.
Yeah, definitely. And with that, we're now going to move on to my first player that we're going to talk about, and it's got to be Ramondre Stevenson. I mean, Harris being out this week, it kind of reminded me a little bit of Forrest Gump. The brace has fallen off, and we finally got to see Ramondre Stevenson run the ball. I mean, he absolutely thrived in that workhorse role. 19 carries, 76 yards and 2 touchdowns, and then 4 receptions, 15 yards. Finishes the RB2 on the week. And then obviously last week as well, Harris coming out of that game quite early. So over the last 2 weeks, he's averaging 22 fantasy points per game. So absolutely killing it now that he's got that workhorse role. The interesting thing is that Harris, a lot of us were expecting him out on IR, be out for a few weeks, but he actually managed to put in a couple of limited practices last week. So are we maybe looking at Harris potentially even being back this week and not getting that longevity of having Ramondre as the starting running back? Obviously, that's something to keep an eye on this week. But even if we do look back when they're both healthy, Ramondre was actually out snapping Harris 60-40 in terms of percentages. So even though Harris was getting slightly more carries, the fact that Ramondre was still able to out snap him was obviously being used more in that receiving role with James White retiring and as I say, taking up that role. So it's going to be interesting to see does the approach now change? Do we see Ramondre taking up even a larger role, getting a few more carries? The fact that he's RB9 on the season, as I say, just shows that even when they're both healthy, he's still able to produce. So that's definitely interesting. And looking long term as well, Harris, potential free agent. So I don't see why they wouldn't let Ramondre take the reins and let's see what they've got in this guy. And as I say, these past 2 weeks, I think the Patriots have got to be happy in seeing what they've got in Ramondre Stevenson. So yeah, absolutely smashed it this week. A guy that I think all three of us quite like, and it's great to see him get that role. We always think Bill Belichick and that Patriots backfield, it's always a headache, but the fact that we've managed to see him dominate touches, we've finally been rewarded for that patience with Bill Belichick. So yeah, what are you two guys thinking on Ramondre?
Yeah, I'm incredibly pleased right now, and I'm never pleased to see a player get injured. But the fact that I think I've got Stevenson in 2 leagues, and in both of them leagues, I've also got Damien Harris, and it's been an absolute nightmare to try and choose which one is going to be in my lineup. And sometimes I have both, and you get disappointed. So the fact that we have currently got some clarity of who to play, and I mean Stevenson's taken his chance full on, and yeah, fantastic week this week. The RB2, exactly what you want to see, and going forward, I think he's going to be unless Harris comes back, and then it's a bit more uncertainty. But you got to think that he takes a little bit more of the workload. The fact that he has shown that ability in the last 3 out of the last 4 weeks, he's had 5 targets as well. So you love to see that. That just adds to his ceiling each and every single week. So yeah, I love Stevenson. Absolutely love him. Damien Harris, it'd be great to see him leave and go to a different team, and then Stevenson can absolutely dominate. And I think he's someone that really could be a possible top 12 fantasy running back if he does have that clarity, if he's got that workload going forward. Absolutely love him.
Yeah, I'm going to rain on this parade, unfortunately. I mean, first of all, we all do like Ramondre Stevenson. We're all pretty high on him as a rookie coming in. And that's led to us all getting some nice shares of him. So I want to be wrong on this, but I just feel that Bill Belichick, even if Harris goes next season, he's going to bring someone in and make it a headache for us fantasy owners. It's a shame because he has really shown out the last couple of weeks. He gives a glimpse as to what he could be if he got the full workload, and he probably does deserve to be the lead back comfortably when Harris gets back. But Harris is a guy that he scored a ton of touchdowns last season. He's getting a lot of early down work. Got to factor in as well QB with it being Bailey Zappi. What's going to happen there? Will that switch over? Will it not? So yeah, I think I do like Stevenson, but when I've seen him going at QJ cut like top 20, top 18, top 16 borderline, it's I guess with the state of the running back landscape, you'd expect it, but it's just a little bit high for me on what I see as being a split backfield when Harris comes back, which could be as early as this week, I guess. So tough to gauge, but let's throw out some trades and see where you guys are at and where I'm at on him as well. So first one is Stevenson or AJ Dillon.
I mean, starting off with a really interesting one. I should have guessed this year, Kev being the smart guy that you are, going for 2 running backs in a potential crowded backfield. Obviously, Dillon having Aaron Jones. I think I'm going to side with Ramondre Stevenson. Like you mentioned, there's obviously concerns with Harris coming back, but I mean, if we're talking about competition, I feel like AJ Dillon's got that tougher competition in Aaron Jones and what he can do, even though he's been a little bit up and down this year, not getting the targets that we all thought he'd get with obviously Aaron Rodgers and no more Devontae Adams. But I think Ramondre Stevenson, I feel like the ceiling's a touch higher with him. So I do lean Ramondre, and I'm hoping that you're wrong, Kevin, and hopefully next season we get to see him with a more prominent role.
Did you look at my ranking before you put this up here, Kevin? Because I've got these back to back. You're a naughty boy. They're in the same tier, so I could easily go side for either of these. I've got Dillon 1 spot ahead. I think possibly the ceiling is higher for Ramondre if he was to be given the full workload and a more workload, a higher workload when Harris comes back. But I'll just side for Dillon. But I've got no real reasoning behind that. I think they're both exactly in the same tier, the same ceiling at the minute. I think Dillon, the Packers offense has got a lot of work to do, and they can reach higher heights. So I think they've. But yeah, okay, I'm just rambling because these are so close that it's. I'll just take them.
Yeah, they are really close. I'd lean to Ramondre slightly just because I think AJ Dillon's been disappointment. His role's been disappointment this season. That's the tiebreaker for me on that one. So next trade, Stevenson or a 23 second and a 24 second.
I hate these kind of trades because the competitor in me, the fact that we're in season, I want that guy that's giving me points. But I think if you're looking at it from Dynasty and long term, we know the strength of this 23 class. We talk about it every single week whenever we come up with these trades. And even those second round picks and the depth as well at running back in this 23 class, it's looking pretty sparse. And I feel like the strength of this class and free agency as well. I think if you're not an elite running back and you don't have an elite running back on your fantasy team, you're probably going to be a little bit worried heading into this offseason because a lot's going to change, I feel like, in terms of running backs. So that does just give me a little bit of caution when it comes to picking Ramondre Stevenson. But do you know what? Because we're in season, because he's just done what he's done for the last 2 weeks, I'm going to stick with the player and I'm going to go Ramondre Stevenson.
Yeah, I think you're bang on the money for what his value is right now. So I think it all comes down to situation. If you're contending, I think you take that chance that Ramondre takes more of the workload when Harris does come back. But then, if possibly you're not looking to contend, then I'll take the picks.
Yeah, picks for me on that one. And last one, Stevenson or Travis Etn?
This one, I'm going to go with Travis Etn. I think the fact that he now seems to be starting to really take over that backfield. We always talk about ceiling, and when it comes to running backs, I feel like Travis Etn's ceiling's right up there with the very best of them. It's just we're not getting him to see that huge workload. He's had a little bit of struggles every now and again, and James Robinson started the year strong, but as I say, Etn, he seems to be taking over. We know that connection that he's got with Trevor Lawrence, if he can start being used in the receiving game a little bit more. I know he's had a few receptions, but if we can see that maybe take a little bit more of an uptick, then yeah, I feel like the ceiling's far higher with Travis Etn. So yeah, I think this one I'm more confident in saying Travis Etn.
Yep, Etn and Jermichael Hasty, if you can just piss off, please. Not take any more carries.
Yeah, I was Etn as well. It's typical James Robinson. I've never been a big fan. Trade for him in my own league, and then he turned into a pumpkin. It's just, honestly, it does made him. But yeah, Etn, baby.
Yeah, I mean, you should be happy, Kev. I mean, you love Travis Etn. So
well, yeah.
You've done yourself, really. You've helped yourself there.
He's taken a bullet in one league to help me about 10.
Exactly. So I think you've done right there, mate. So yeah, with that, we're going to move on to the second running back and back to you, Ali.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the league winner that's going to be helping all your fantasy teams for the rest of this season.
No prizes for guessing what team this is going to be on.
We're talking about Rashad White. No, we're not talking about Rashad White. We're talking about Leonard Fournette, playoff Lenny, championship Lenny, however you want to call him. But yeah, absolute league winner this year. The runner back 5 on the week and the runner back 5 on the season. And to be honest, I can only see the arrow continuing to point upwards or sideways, definitely not down for Fournette, just because the fact that I have to watch this trash offense week in, week out that is the Buccaneers. You've got Tom Brady who's screaming at his offensive line, absolutely no hope in the offensive line, that they're not protecting him, and he's dumping a load of passes off to Leonard Fournette. It's extremely predictable offense. Byron Leftwich needs to get fired. It's first down, it's always run Lenny on first down, and then Lenny gets the third down catch as well. So I mean, if you've got Leonard Fournette, absolutely fantastic. I think he takes that workload. He's a big, strong guy that can take it on all season. The fact that he's not game script dependent either. When we're up, we're still riding Leonard Fournette. When we're down, we're dumping passes off to him, getting them small yardage situations. So he's absolutely game script proof. Yeah, Brady's just dinking and dunking right now. He's thinking that he's still with the Patriots. It's Bruce Arians is out the building. There's no more, no risk it, no biscuit. The fact that Mike Evans this week was up against the Steelers secondary with not a single starter and he had just 4 catches is absolutely pathetic game scripting. And then just look on the season, he's had 30 targets this last 4 weeks alone for Fournette, which is absolutely fantastic if you playing PPR leagues, which I do in every single league. And just the 1 rushing touchdown on the season, which is a bit of a surprise, but he's got 3 receiving touchdowns, including 2 in the last 2 weeks. So yeah, I think Fournette is someone that is my number 1 trade target for if I'm contending right now. I think people look at his age, the fact that he's 27 years old. If they've got him and they're not contending or they want to rebuild, they're going to be happy to get off Leonard Fournette. And I don't think he's going to cost that much to buy. We'll perhaps find out in a little while. But yeah, he did sign the 3-year deal in the off season, but really we know it's a 2-year contract with an extra year. So he's locked in for this year and he's locked in for next year. Yeah, I think it's fantastic. If you've got him on your team right now, and you're a contender, then you're really happy because he gives you such a high floor each week, with a high ceiling because he's given you top five production.
Yeah, I think I had him about running back 12 or 13 in my rankings this offseason, which was way above consensus. So I'm happy that I've actually got something right for a change. It's just the fact that the offense, it's meant to be an elite offense. It's not quite there, but we know that this team can come together, sadly, based on Alice spotting them. But just from fantasy wise, he's getting great volume and a great offense. He's, like you said, game script proof, PPR leagues, catching passes. He's someone you can be really comfortable with as your RB1, your hero RB approach. Love Lenny. I think he's actually really safe, but he's not treated that way.
Yeah, I've not got too much to add, to be honest. Like I said, if you're a win now team, he's got to be a top target if you don't own him. The fact that he's got such a solid floor, third in RB targets with 36, he's giving you that safe floor, like you both mentioned. The fact that it doesn't matter what's happening, if the Bucks are down, Lenny's still getting the work. If they're up, he's obviously getting the work on the ground. So, I definitely think he's a key win now target. So, with the trades I'm going to come up with, I've tried to go for guys that are also kind of win now targets. So you can't just bail out and give me the old excuse if you're contending or rebuilding. So we're going to kick things off a straight 1v1. We're going to go Leonard Fournette or Alvin Kamara.
This is an interesting one because I think they're both 27 years old, and I think ultimately I've got a tier break between these two. I've got Kamara in the tier above. They're both very similar players. I think ultimately Kamara has the higher ceiling. The fact that 2 weeks ago, Kamara had 100 rushing yards and nearly 100 receiving yards, and he was close to. He might have been the RB1. I can't remember, but I don't think Leonard Fournette's got that in his range of outcomes. I think he gives you a safe ceiling, a safe floor, but not quite that high ceiling. So I'll just take Kamara. I think the Saints realise that their wide receivers are completely banged up right now, and Kamara is that offense. So I'll just lean Kamara, but yeah, it's pretty close.
Yes, it's a tough one. I can't believe Ali, the Bucks fans, picked Kamara, the Saints player, over Fournette. It's blown my mind, actually. It's lost my trail of thought, but I was actually going to say Fournette just because Taysom Hill does my head in, first of all. And then the second thing with the Saints, I see like these wide receivers getting healthy eventually and taking some of these targets back because there's no one on the offense. But yeah, you're happy with either of them, but I'll be the Bucks homer that I am really.
Yeah, I think it's interesting with them both being up there in age as well. We've not even mentioned that Kamara and that potential legal issue as well that could maybe lead to some suspension next season as well. So if you are looking win now and you've only got that short window with these aging running backs, maybe that swings you to Fournette and obviously being with the Buccaneers. So yeah, glad that I managed to split both for the first one. So the second one, Leonard Fournette and a 23 second, or Derrick Henry, and a 24 second.
Wow, it's a really interesting one. I will just take Fournette and the 23 second just because I'm getting that pick earlier, and I think that Henry, where he is right now, I don't think he gives you that absolute ceiling that he has been giving you, and his cliff comes a lot sooner than Fournette's, I think. So I'll just lean Fournette.
Yeah, I'm going to be a wimp and say Fournette just on the safety week to week. I think Henry could drop a 4-point game on you. I can't see Fournette doing that.
Yeah, I'm not surprised, Kev, because I know you've got a little meme about Derrick Henry lined up ready to fire off that you've not quite had the opportunity to, seeing as the King has returned. But yeah, not too surprised.
No spoilers.
Yeah, there's a little spoiler for anyone. If Derrick Henry has one bad week, get ready. Kev's got some bullets to fire. So we'll move on to the last one, and I feel like this could be a really interesting one. Leonard Fournette and a 23 second, or Christian McCaffrey.
I can't believe you're going to make me pick another NFC South rival right now, but I am gonna lean Christian McCaffrey, just because of he is healthy now. It's great to see him back. I think they've slowly worked him back into the offense, and he is now really showing up. I think you've obviously got the worry with Christian McCaffrey. Any week he could go down and then be out for the rest of the season, and I mean, his value's already tanked massively compared to what it was at the start of last season. But I do lean that side just because I think at any given week he can give you such a massive ceiling. But I hate the fact that I'm picking against Fournette again, and I'm interested to see what Kev picks here.
This is really tough. I'm going to sound like I'm just biased, but I'm going Fournette. Just with McCaffrey, like, he is amazing. If he gets traded somewhere like Buffalo, I just can't see him getting 25, 30 fantasy points a week. With Josh Allen as a rushing QB and the other weapons they've got, I just can't see that. And 23 seconds preaching about taking these and just seeing what falls to you out of this loaded class into your laps, really. So, yeah, just pathetic wimp, but take it on it.
I'm surprised you got McCaffrey to be honest, because I'm giving you a better discount than what the actual Panthers are in real life and what they're looking for Christian McCaffrey. So, yeah, surprised with that. But yeah, I mean, both been great this year, and it's great to see Christian McCaffrey back. But yeah, love it. So with that, Kev, we're going to move on to you, and we're going to move to the wide receiver position.
Yeah, I teased it a little bit then, speaking about the Bills, and I probably picked the Fournette side on that trade just because I don't want it to affect this Bills wide receiver in Stefan Diggs. Wide receiver 2 on the week, wide receiver 1 on the season. It was pretty nice seeing the Diggs and Allen stacks in DFS this weekend just get closer and closer and beyond the money line. It was fantastic to see that as he balled out in the later game on Sunday. Looking at Diggs though from his previous fantasy seasons, he's been 3rd and 7th the past couple of years, and this year 25.1 fantasy points per game. It's solid. Last year, for reference, Cup was 25.9 fantasy points per game. So within a point per game of that historic season is going underrated in my eyes. It's going to sound like a victory lap show this, but I actually had Diggs as a top 6 wide receiver this offseason. Wow, two good takes in one show is pretty funny. But I'll tell you what is also laughable, the fact that he was ranked outside the top 12 by pretty much most analysts I've seen out there this offseason. Josh Allen's wide receiver 1. Obviously, situations can change, but it's not changing anytime soon. I think he has got to be considered in a similar range to Cooper Kupp. Other guys around his age, Devontae Adams and Tyreek Hill, I'd expect him to be above both of those based on what he's doing. However, keep Trey Cut wide receiver 4 right up there with Cooper Kupp. That was a shock to me when I looked into that. I thought it would still be lower just based on him being 29 in November and people being ages. So there's something you've got to really weigh up. It's your value versus sort of age. Are you wanting to win leagues, or are you just trying to add value to your dynasty roster? It's a fine line. I think if you're playing in a lot of leagues, you want to have some exposure to Diggs, but I also appreciate it's going to be 29. You've got to pick the right spots to be holding assets sort of at that age. But ultimately, you are trying to win leagues, so to completely avoid him and fade him, I think, would be part of the process.
Yeah, I'm going to start by giving you a little bit of praise here, Kev, because I feel you were the first on Stefon Diggs when he went over to Buffalo. You were really eyeing him right from the get-go. So, yeah, you absolutely smashed it. And the really interesting thing is PPR leagues, obviously the number 1 overall player, Josh Allen, the number 2 overall player, Stefon Diggs, above all the other quarterbacks. So, I mean, if you've got Stefon Diggs and Josh Allen in a stack in any of your leagues, you're absolutely laughing because you've got the top 2 players in fantasy football right now. So yeah, the fact that they're both together, paired together, connected for the foreseeable future, I mean, it's hard not to be excited by Stefon Diggs. The fact that Josh Allen's absolutely serving it up at the minute. This Bills offense looking on fire, looking unstoppable to be honest. So yeah, Stefon Diggs, I feel like he's been disrespected. Like you mentioned, that the age thing is something that you often see in Dynasty, and people do overreact maybe to age, and the fact that we've seen what Cooper Kupp did last year, we're basically seeing it again from Stefon Diggs, and I feel like he's got that ceiling as well. He's not super reliant on targets, even though he is getting plenty of targets. This guy can put up huge numbers as well in terms of yardage. So yeah, he's absolutely serving it up right now. Both of these guys are, and as I say, yeah, you're absolutely laughing if you've got the number 1 and number 2 overall fantasy player right now in your fantasy leagues.
You certainly are, but you're quite upset because the fact that they're both on bye this week. You're
That
going
is
to be
very true.
without them.
But I mean, you can afford a week off when they're doing what they're doing the first 6 weeks.
Certainly can, and yeah, thinking people look back at historical and they go running backs, they get to the age of 26, they fall off a cliff, and wide receivers, they get to 28 years old, 29 years old, and everybody wants to get off them. But I think with modern science nowadays, I think players clearly look at Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, they're playing a lot longer and they're playing at a higher level longer. The fact that Derrick Henry at 28 years old is still dominating. Stefon Diggs, yeah, he's 29 in November. You just look at the contract. The Bills were obviously happy that his age. They gave him a massive contract. They have him out, but not until 2025. So the fact that you're going to have him for the next 3 seasons, tied with Josh Allen. I mean, my window that I play in is 2 to 3 years. So I'm absolutely really happy to roster Stefon Diggs right now. And the fact that a lot of people still have him ranked outside top 12, that just means that I'm happy to trade for Diggs, and it's going to be an affordable price right now. I mean, do you want a young shiny roster, or do you want to try and win a dynasty league? I'm really happy to have Diggs on my roster right now. I don't think that there's going to be much drop off in his value, and if there is, I'm just happy to pick it up right now. And it'll be interesting to see where you two are on Diggs right now in Dynasty. So the 3 trade scenarios, I've got Stefon Diggs or CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, this is mega tough, because I think if you asked anyone 2 weeks ago, well, maybe not anyone, but people's thoughts on CeeDee Lamb a couple of weeks ago are different to now. I think he dipped as low as he went, and he's picking back up, and he's getting Dak back. I'm still leaning Diggs though, because Lamb's not done it yet. He's like a few. What would it be like? A recent version of DJ Moore, like DJ Moore a couple of years ago, where there's all this hype, there's the talent there. He's in a better situation than DJ Moore, but yeah, he's not quite done it yet. So yeah, I'll take Diggs and try and win a league.
Yeah, fully agree with Kev. I think with CeeDee Lamb, we've yet to fully see it. We've yet to fully be convinced by him. He's obviously turned it around in the last couple of weeks, getting Dak back. But on the flip side, obviously Malcolm Gallup coming back. We don't know how it's going to shake up once he hits full form. So yeah, I think I'm going Stefon Diggs. As I say, it's hard to pass up on a guy that's doing what he's doing right now. So yeah, Stefon Diggs.
Yep, I've got them pretty much neck and neck in Dynasty, but Diggs just ahead, just because of the reasons you've both given. How about Stefon Diggs or a 23 first and a 23 second?
Pulling at my heartstrings here. Yes, still Diggs for me. Just I think he is. It is worth more than that. If it was on 23 picks, I'd probably want at least 2 firsts with a little bit on top to get Diggs.
Yeah, I think this is one of those trades that if you did make it, you maybe look back and think it's always going to look bad at some point if you're taking Stefon Diggs, because obviously that 23 first and second, we know Diggs is at some point going to fall off and fade away. But yeah, I think I'm still going Stefon Diggs. That production, as I say, we're in season right now, so I don't want to just go for the picks, even though that 23 first is obviously exciting, but it's that unknown, isn't it, with the picks, where you know what you got with Stefon Diggs. So yeah, I still lean Stefon Diggs.
Yep, same. I think he's worth 2 firsts, so I think this is just under what I think his value is. And the final one is pretty juicy. It's Stefon Diggs and a 23 first or Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, this is juicy. I'll take the side where I'm getting 2 assets I like, which is Diggs and the 23 first. Just on the basis that I think Diggs has got at least 2 quality, really top quality years left in him. Dynasty wide receiver ones, if that's what you think Jefferson is, they don't tend to be actual wide receiver ones every season, bang, 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 on the trot. So yeah, give me a 23 first and see what happens, see where it lands, see what you get. You might get a quarterback, a starter in the league, a QB, you might get a potentially elite running back. You're probably not going to get a Justin Jefferson at wide receiver, but you're going to get an asset that's a really nice value to go alongside with Diggs.
Yeah, again, I think I agree with Kev. It's tough not going for Justin Jefferson. I don't have him in a single league. I'd love to be able to have him, but yeah, I mean, with what like we keep saying with what Stefan Diggs are doing right now, I mean, he's absolutely blowing out. I mean, there's not really much in it in terms of what they're producing this year. So the fact that you're getting that 23 first, obviously, I know Diggs is up there in age, and as I say, you'll look back in a couple of years and think, why didn't I make this move? But you might have won 2 leagues in that time if you've got Stefan Diggs and then getting that 23 first as well, which, well, we say it's an unknown. You don't know what it could be. Well, it could be great. It might not be, but it's the risk you take. And I think the fact that you're getting those 2 assets, like Kev's saying, I think I'd rather do that, to be honest, and go for the guy that's producing right now.
Agreed.
Love it. So with that, we're going to go on to the final player, and that's Deontay Johnson. This is a tough one. I mean, Ali, I know you're super on him. Kev, I think you quite like Deontay Johnson as well. It's been tough sledding. I mean, can we bring back Noodle on Big Ben? All is forgiven, because I seem to remember everyone saying, surely it can't get any worse than what he had with Big Ben. Well, clearly it can. I mean, the targets are still there. He's averaging nearly 10 targets per game, but the quality is definitely not there right now, having just 5 receptions and 50 yards per game. Yet to have a touchdown on the season. It's obviously been tough going from Trubisky to Kenny Pickett, who looked pretty good, to be fair, when he started. But obviously that injury that he's got, it's concussion, I think, so he might be missing a bit of time. And it's just the chopping and changing at quarterback. It's doing no favors for anyone that owns Deontay Johnson. I mean, the only saving grace, if we are going to look maybe a little bit more long term, is that schedule. He's got the 9th easiest remaining schedule for a wide receiver. And then if we look to the crunch part of the season, week 13 onwards, he's facing the Falcons, the Ravens, the Panthers, the Raiders, and then the Ravens again. All teams that are pretty bottom quarter, I think, in the NFL in terms of what they can do against wide receivers. So the schedule does look quite good. So maybe if things start to turn around, if Pickett maybe does start being the starter again and can start to adjust, maybe that's the saving grace with Deontay Johnson. But beyond that, right now we're looking at a limited ceiling for Deontay Johnson, not seeing the highs of what we had last year. And also not to forget George Pickens as well, who's come in and really impressed when given the opportunity, making some big plays, some spectacular plays. So that also limiting the scene a little bit with Deontay Johnson. So I'm going to say it right now, I am officially worried by Deontay Johnson. Thankfully, the targets are there. So in PPR leagues, at least you're getting a little bit of a floor. But yeah, I mean, I'm missing that ceiling. Bring back Big Ben.
Yeah, I can't believe I
never thought those were to come out of my mouth.
Yeah, surely it can't be any worse than Big Ben, and yeah, it did get worse. But as you mentioned, Matt, the targets are there, 57 so far this season, which is exactly what you asked for. There's only been one game with 4 targets, then last week with 7. I mean, 7 targets is usually not too bad, but it's been double digits the rest of the way. But yeah, it's the ceiling that's not there. And then you worry about George Pickens. He's got a good chemistry with Kenny Pickett already, and then the fact that Chase Claypool even got in the action this week and had a big fantasy week, where he's been easily the 3rd target in that team. I think you just have to ride with it right now, because I've got him in plenty of places, and I'm happy to own him. He's struggling for a contending side. You've just got to keep with the process and hope them targets turn into real production down the line. Hopefully we get Kenny Pickett back, and with that schedule, it could turn into fantasy points. And yeah, you're definitely not going to sell him right now, because he's not going to get what he's worth. So you've just got to hold on to him and hope that things get better. But certainly worried. I'd probably go concerned. I wouldn't stretch to worried. I'll go concerned.
Yeah, you've got to be concerned. I think from the small glimpse we've seen of Kenny Pickett, George Pickens looks like the main man. Granted, it is a very small sample size, but the market has spoken as such. George Pickens is above Deontay Johnson at keep trade cut. Deontay Johnson's at wide receiver 25 now, which, yeah, it's crazy to consider that he probably should have been a borderline wide receiver 1 before the season, or at least top sort of 15, 16. And he's dipped already, despite getting that contract to stay around in Pittsburgh. So, yeah, you can't really sell him now because you're selling low. It's a really tough time for him. I know he's projected for less than 10 points, I think, on Sleeper this week. So that's pretty upsetting if you go exactly by your projected points as to how well your team's going to do, which I don't. But it is really, really tricky time. You've got to hold him. Is he someone you'd go after? Not for me, because I've got a lot of him. But if his value does keep going down, then he's someone I'd be happy to get involved with, because I don't think Claypool's going to be there after this season or longer term with Pickens taking more steps forward. So I'm going to gauge your guys' thoughts on his trade value, Deontay Johnson or Rashad Bateman.
It's a tough one because, as I say, being a big fan of Deontay Johnson for a while, Rashad Bateman looked great to start the year. Obviously missed a bit of time with the injury, but do you know what? I'm going to go with Rashad Bateman. I think even though the Ravens not as high pass volume as a lot of NFL teams are, I feel like he's got such a great opportunity over there. Obviously, we know Mark Andrews absolutely dominating in terms of targets, but they clearly need a wide receiver one. I mean, they're relying on Devin Duvernay, who's more of a return specialist than he is an actual NFL wide receiver. So I feel like the opportunity is definitely there for Rashad Bateman when he comes back from this injury, and I feel like the ceiling's there as well with Bateman. So yeah, I'll lean Bateman.
I'll lean Deontay. I can still believe in the process, Deontay Johnson. I think this offense is going to get a bit better going forward with Pickett into the future. So I do believe in Bateman. I think he's a good receiver, but it's hard to trust anybody on that Ravens offense that's not called Mark Andrews. So I'll lean Deontay. Yeah,
it's ever so close. I'll take Deontay just on. He's done more for fantasy. He's got the talent. I think Bateman, it's more of a projection. What will he be? Can he be a stud? He hasn't shown it from a fantasy point of view, despite the flashes from a real life point of view. So next trade, we've got DJ or DJ Moore.
Love it. Kev's always got to come up with some unique way of doing something like this. But yeah, again, another tough one, because you could argue that both in similar situations, we know the talent's there, but just don't have it in terms of quarterback play. So I think if I'm just going, this is so tough, you know. You can see me squirming. I'm going to go with DJ Moore. Again, I just feel like we've seen it from DJ Moore, even though that he's not had a great situation throughout his NFL career. He's still able to put up over 1,000 yards year after year. Doesn't look like he's going to achieve it this year, but I just feel like now with Matt Rule gone, that situation, it just has to get better. Surely at some point it has to get better for DJ Moore. I just favour DJ Moore.
Yeah, it's pretty disgusting, but I'll go DJ Moore. I think the Panthers projected the number one pick right now. I might be wrong, but give me Bryce Young or CJ Stroud coming in there and lifting DJ Moore's value right now.
Yeah, let's go for more. We'll agree on something together this evening. And then last one is Deontay Johnson or a 24 first and a 24 second.
Do you know what? I'm going to sound like a broken record this week on this show, but because we're in season, baby, I'm going for the player. I mean, we're 2 years out from these picks as well. I mean, you basically you're giving away an asset that could potentially improve in value, and yet you're just going to sit on these picks for 2 years pretty much. So, I'm going to take a chance on Deontay Johnson. This situation may be improving in the next 6 months, next 12 months, and Deontay Johnson for me.
Give me the picks. I think, we don't like the ceiling for Deontay Johnson this season. Add to that George Pickens taking a step further. I'll take the picks because come the offseason, I think they're going to start to be really valuable.
Cool.
Absolutely. Love that. And with that brings us to the end of this week's show. No, we're not doing no waivers now. I think we've reached the peak time in the season where the waivers have all gone. But be sure to tune in next week, because I think we're going to bring in quite an exciting segment to end the show. But with that, thank you for tuning in. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at Fantasy Wildcard. Subscribe to the YouTube by searching Fantasy Wildcard Podcast Network, and which also includes our brand new show that's crushing it at the minute, the Rewind Show. And if you can, please do leave us a five-star podcast review. Be sure to join us every Tuesday for the podcast, every Wednesday for the stream. And thank you once again. Have a good one.